Ronnie Coleman Health Update on this episode of Heavy Muscle Radio.
I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution. And we are live for another edition of Heavy Muscle Radio. Today I got a special guest host, John Romano, the originator, as we say, joining us here. Chris Aceto is on vacation in Miami. And John, unfortunately, on the one day you decide to come on and join me as a guest host, we have a million stories happening, which I guess is a good thing because we can report on it. But one of the terrible things you never want to hear is that Ronnie Coleman has been hospitalized in the UK. Undisclosed reasons. They say it was a serious hospitalization, but he is stable and reports will come out. You know, whenever I hear something like that, my mind is boggled by the fact that people don't give you information. And the only reason I could suspect that might be the case is that either serious, very serious, or they're afraid that they don't really know the details yet of whatever happened. What do you think is going on with Ronnie?
Irrespective of the severity of the malady, the fact of the matter is that Ronnie Coleman, for better or worse, is a public figure. He's ours. And if something's wrong with him, we need to know what that is. And so why is this cloaked in mystery? I mean, be transparent. The ridiculous thing is that the statement that was released says, you know, no details, but respect the families, you know, privacy, and no speculation. How are you're going to just give us a taste of what the thing is and then tell us not to speculate? I mean, come on. Just open the books. What's wrong with the guy? I mean, we're going to find out eventually.
Right. Fouad Abiad had that motorcycle accident, a week ago. Right. And everyone knew about it. And people said, he wanted to release and have, what exactly happened. But everyone knew he had a motorcycle accident. People were texting him. I know I did. And, telling him, wishing him and praying for him. We want to pray for Ronnie. We don't even know what to pray for, though. We don't even know what's going on with him.
The point is,
I know Ronnie, and you do too, since the early 90s. Right. And, I feel like he's part of my family almost, and I'm worried because I don't know if he fell and broke his hip, okay, that would be terrible, right? But it's not life threatening,
right?
It would still be a terrible thing because he already has problems walking. But if he had a heart attack or something like that, for God's, I mean that's dangerous. So I think as fans and as people who care about him, we just want to know is his life in danger, or is it more of just an inconvenience like what happened to Fouad, where he had
I mean, if they're not going to give us details, then don't give us anything. If you want to
wait, someone leaked it. You know what the problem is, John? There's always some aide in the hospital or nurse who is a bodybuilding fan or is a bodybuilding themselves, or a bikini competitor, and she sees Ronnie Coleman rush to the emergency room, and she calls her friend, and before you know it, the game of telephone, everyone knows Ronnie Coleman's in the hospital. So someone's got to say something.
Well, that's even more reason for not, if you don't want us to speculate, give us the truth, give us the information that you have up until now. Look. If you like it or not, Ronnie is a public figure. He belongs to us, to bodybuilding. We are his fans, his friends, his extended family, however you want to look at it. We're bros. And for you guys to keep information like this of a severe nature secret, and then on top of that, ask to not speculate, that's just nuts. You know, I mean, what do you expect us to do? Just sit here and say, "Oh, we're going to wait until the next, news flash comes out of the compound." You know,
we don't need Liver King footage. We don't need Liver King footage, but we want at least give us something to listen
right.
to.
Something. I mean, you know, if you're gonna appeal to us, you know, then give us the full Monty. Don't just give us this little, you know, snippet of reality and then expect nobody to speculate when you're talking about probably one of the 5 most popular bodybuilders ever in history.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I couldn't believe, you know, he's even it even made a TMZ.
Well, you know what it is. This is why. Because no matter what, we have this cadre of douchebags that follow this sport that are just dying for the next, you know, bad news to come out so that they can blame drugs, blame the lifestyle, blame, you know, that it's going too far, blame the fact that they're dropping like flies. Because, you know, if you become a bodybuilder, you're never supposed to die. You got to live forever. Otherwise, you're going to get aspersions cast your way because you have the audacity to do something as human as dying.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, Ronnie's pretty resilient, and I like I said, I love the guy. I send him so much. I sent him so much prayer and healing energy, and I thought that was a Ronnie Coleman update I was getting.
Yeah, same here, man. I feel it's like,
but at the same time, serious medical condition tells me that I think heart attack, you know, or I think fell down and broke his hip. Those are the 2 things that come to my mind is like. That just pops into my head. And I don't know anything about what happened whatsoever because, I mean, and I don't see a broken hip as a serious medical illness or a serious medical thing. So I'm thinking, you know, I have to think heart attack or what happens or stroke or something like that. I don't know.
Or he fell and smashed his head on something. I mean,
I mean, something like that. But I mean, Fouad Abiad had a serious medical issue. He crashed his bike. I mean,
and they told us.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, like, geez,
right
away.
Yeah. Well,
it's a real disservice to the fan base, really, when you know you're not thought of enough to be told more than just this snippet that they let out that, you know, does nothing but it does nothing but spark, you know, conversation and conspiracy because you don't have any facts. Why aren't they telling us any facts? They're not telling us any facts because it's severe, it's life-threatening, it's this, it's that, it's gonna. So they force the issue. Just tell us what's wrong.
It could be that they don't know. You know what? Maybe, you know, like sometimes you get like a pain in your side. You know, it could be an appendectomy. Usually, although that's pretty, you know, they can diagnose that pretty easily. But maybe he dropped and, you know, and passed out or.
Just tell us. Just tell us. That's all.
Either way, we all love Ronnie, and that's the only reason we're even speculating.
Exactly. We love Ronnie. We want to know what's wrong so we can direct our healing energies in the right, avenue. I just a lot of
accidents lately happening though. I mean, Fouad, it was a serious. I mean, do you see how messed up he is? He's like,
no, I didn't see
neck surgery, and he's like, you know, I mean, he seems like he's in good mental spirits, but.
When it comes to motorcycle accidents, I like to know very little.
Yeah, I mean, but he got pretty messed up, it looks like. I mean, he's, like I said, he's a tough son of a bitch. And I know he'll get over it, but, you know, it's not fun. It looked like he had some surgery on his neck.
Jeez.
And, I mean, you know, it's neck is neck. That's never good when you get a neck injury, right?
No.
No one wants to get a neck injury. So, I don't know. It's, once again, dangerous. There's a lot of dangerous shit going on out there.
Well,
you gotta be careful.
We live in dangerous times because we have dangerous toys.
Yeah.
You know, 100 years ago, we didn't have motorcycles with 250 horsepower that weigh 300 pounds.
You know what's more dangerous than a motorcycle nowadays? Have you ever seen these? I bought my kids these scooters. Have you seen these little electric scooters?
Yeah. The Razors?
Yeah, no, but it's a scooter. It's an actual. It's like a scooter, but they go like 10 miles an hour. The kids ones, you know, maybe if you're lucky, you get a 15-mile-per-hour one. But I get used to you. 15 miles an hour is very fast on a scooter. It's like that's like going that on a skateboard.
Yeah, absolutely. You crack your skull at that speed.
Yeah, my ex-wife Barbara. I think you know Barbara.
Oh yes.
I'm friends with her husband, and he texts me. He goes, "Oh, Barbara got really fucked up. She fucking broke her wrist." I'm like, "What happened?" She's one of those, like, going like 20 miles an hour on a scooter and hit something and flew off the thing and broke her wrist and scraped her whole face up, and you could really hurt yourself.
I know.
I think those scooters are more dangerous than the little electric bikes and motorcycles.
Richie Gaspari and I were in Northern California, San Jose, to do a podcast, and we rented those. We were going to go to the gym, and they have I think it's Mint, it's called. And they're these scooters that you just grab them and you swipe your credit card and you take them, and then you leave them wherever you want. It's like a electric bike service in the city. So we rent these scooters, and we're at the hotel parking lot, and we make this loop. He goes around back behind the entry, and the next thing, and then he doesn't come back out. I go, what the fuck? So I scoot around back there. He's on the ground upside down with the scooter on top of him.
Oh shit.
He hit, the parking thing, those cement things that you block your wheels when denote the end of the parking spot.
Yeah.
The curb. It's like a curb, right? He ran into that and went, and then the thing went like.
I'm telling you, the most dangerous things you could ever do.
Those scooters are definitely dangerous.
Hold on. Oh wait, hold on. Let me. I got the pictures. I'll show you Fuad, who I also been sending prayer. I've been saying a prayer for him every day because it can happen to any of us. Any of us can happen too. So that was.
Do we know any details of the crash? What happened?
Yeah, he probably looks like he broke his neck. I mean,
no. I mean the actual crash.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I think
in front of him, or
I'm not sure.
That's
good. He's got some nice hardware in him now.
Yeah. Fuck.
But he's in good, like I said, good spirits. He's showing, I would have done the same thing. he looks like he got the crap beat out of him. He's not happy, look, he's got some serious, scars and stuff like that. But
see, the thing that compounds the severity of a motorcycle accident is the ancillary injuries that you get just by being not encapsulated. So if you're wearing a t-shirt, you're fucked because you have road rash all over your arms. If you weren't wearing leather pants, you got road rash all over your legs, which it looks like he has. And that just adds to the misery. I mean, if you break a bone, that hurts enough, but then you got to have road rash on top of that. Smashed fingers, all kinds of other stuff that you get injured minorly with a bike crash that adds to the discomfort of the major injury.
Though when I see him walking like that, it reminded me after I had my aorta surgery.
Oh God!
How I was walking the halls. I was with the gown with your ass hanging out in the back. You don't even care. They're like, you got to walk. You just walk, and I'm like, ass is. Luckily, I'm pretty lean. I have a pretty good ass. Some people look pretty bad, and I got a tan. He doesn't look too bad either. He's in pretty good shape. So, but yeah, I mean, you got to do it, and everyone's in that same stupid hospital gown. It's like you would think, John. How long has the hospital business been in business at this point? For hundreds of years or whatever. Can they please invent a new gown that functions better and looks nicer? Why can't someone come up with a? It costs the same thing. Can we get someone to do a redesign on the hospital gown, please?
I never had whenever I wear those, I'm just able to pull the back around to the front and covers everything up. Or you can wear two. You put on one way and one the other way.
Yeah. It's not so easy when you have a catheter in or something like that.
Well, I think that's they do it for access. If they ever got to rip that thing off you and get to your vitals, I mean they don't want anything holding them back.
Yeah. By the way,
I don't know. I don't make those rules.
Yeah. Before we go into the next story, I have to. I took the kids to Orlando this past weekend.
Was that where Logan won got the shot?
I got to put up the thing. Look, my son is he's a troublemaker. He's probably I probably was exactly the same as him as a kid.
Right.
He's so confident though in himself, and he's very oppositional. So if you tell him to do one thing, he wants to do the other thing, right? So he's obsessed with these carnival games, that you can never win.
Right.
And, you have to throw rings around a milk bottle. They're impossible games, but he's really into basketball. And so every time he sees anything where he can shoot a ball, I'm like, Logan, I'm like, these games are rigged. No one wins these things. Certainly not,
the big prize.
Yeah, you can't get it in. The backboards are bouncy and the balls are too bouncy,
and they make the basket narrower that the ball barely fits into the thing.
Right, and so I guess they weren't having a lot of business. They're like, oh, I'll let them try it, because I said, you're not going to be able to do it, because my daughters wanted to do it too. I'm like, you guys can't even reach the basket. So of course the two little ones, they couldn't even reach the basket. He's got an arm on him. This kid, he can fire that ball. So I'm like, all right, you know what? I said, if you want to do it, do it. I said, I'm videotaping you though, because I said you're never going to get it in. I said, you're wasting your money. But everyone else got a gift. If that's what you want your gift to be, the $10 or $20, whatever it was, for the 3 basketball shoots. I said, fine.
Is that what they charge for that now?
Well, yeah, because you try to win something.
It's 3 shots for how much?
It's like $10 or something like that.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yes.
It was 50 cents when I was a kid.
We're at SeaWorld, so I said, I'm going to videotape you. So here we go.
I love this.
This thing in. He claims he's going to do it.
He just dribbles between his legs. He's like a stud.
Yeah.
Man, he froze up.
That didn't go shake him.
Oh, the woman before he went, John, was telling him, you got to the trick is to arc it in. He's like, don't tell me how to shoot a basketball. He goes, I know what I'm doing. So I said, oh boy, he's my father, like to the T. So
to the T.
Here's the third shot, the third and final.
Oh, he sunk it. He sunk it. I can't believe this kid is the luckiest kid. I can't believe it. You get it? He high five.
Look,
you got it wrong. Wow.
That was a high five.
Yeah, he was blowing me off.
You are good,
right
I gotta
off.
tell you, he is a clutch player. This kid hits it when the buzzer goes off. He hits it. Third shot, he hit it on.
Everybody there knows he won.
Because I made a big deal about it. I had to see. I'll doubt him at first, but once he does it, I have to celebrate.
Oh yeah, you got it. It's big.
So
that's
funny. He tell him he can't do something, he will do it every single time. But,
every kid's like that. Yeah, all that's the worst you got to do is tell him you can't do that. Then oh boy.
I said, you know what? I said that they probably thought we were hustling them. We should have gone double for nothing. I should have said on the third shot, if he hits it, I said we would give us two prizes, because we went. It's like the movie The Hustler, or the Color Money, where they go in there.
Yeah.
They hustle people for money. That was Logan and I doing the hustle on the carnival games at the SeaWorld. But we had to get they actually swam with the dolphins. I haven't put those pictures up yet. They swam with we all swam with the dolphins, and
that's an incredible experience. I did that.
We had a dolphin experience. Yeah,
that's wild.
Dolphin actually, they're so strong they can actually pull you around the grotto there.
Really hold on to the fin and they take you around. It was really cool.
We had this one female dolphin, Dot, her name was, and she was, we did all the encounters with her. And there was these 2 people had just gotten married. They probably were at least 350 each, weight wise. And when it was time for them to get pulled around, they had a call in a reinforce. They had a call in the Ronnie Coleman dolphin because Dot couldn't pull them around, and they knew that before because they went last. Oh, sometimes we like to share other dolphins from other pods, and they want to come over, and so Ronnie Coleman here is gonna pull you around the grotto. It's this older, 60-year-old dolphin that's probably Ronnie Coleman probably won the Mr. Olympia of the dolphins,
the Charlie Arms of dolphins.
and the reason I know that's why they did it is because as soon as their ride was over, we got Dot back and that one left. So
Dot came back.
No one else picked it up except for me.
That's hysterical.
We're so visually aware of what's going on around us. Right? So anyway, that was so we had a fun weekend. We got a little rained out. We went to the water park Aquatica on yesterday on Sunday, but it was we got a couple rides in, but it was raining the whole time. So.
It always rains in Orlando. I lived there for a couple of years, man. Yeah. There's more rain I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. It sucked, but we had such a good time the whole weekend. It was fine.
Cool.
But that was that. All right, so let's get. I want to talk about before we get to I want to talk about the Liver King, because before we talk about the Flex Pro show that Rubiel Mosquera and NECKZILLA won, let's get to let's get to the Liver King thing. So what do you think about this whole Liver King? Because the Liver King created this image of himself as this ancestral caveman Neanderthal who eats, bushes in his backyard and, eats livers and bull testicles and bone marrow. And look, we all knew it was like somewhat of an act, right? And he has this bushy beard. He looks like Grizzly Adams, even though he lives in a really nice house, right. He makes it look like he lives in a cave. He looks like he hasn't showered in a week, right. Which he may not have. I don't know, because he was acting kind of kooky in these videos. So evidently, I guess there was this Netflix documentary that I have not seen, by the way, about him that was negative. I guess Joe Rogan brought it up, and so he had challenged Joe Rogan to a fight or something like that.
Yeah.
Went out to Austin, Texas, where Joe Rogan lives, and he was in a hotel there, and he was saying, let's fight, MMA fight. And he wasn't saying I'm going to kick your ass. He was basically saying you'll probably choke me out, but I'm going to enjoy it. And to me, the whole thing sounded like a big publicity stunt, but he was acting like really weird, like he was on drugs. Like he wasn't really he was saying some kooky, non-coherent shit.
His pupils were totally dilated,
right? I mean, he looked like he was definitely on some kind of drugs, right. Probably hallucinogens, But yeah. And I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden we get this report from Alex Jones of all people. Alex Jones, who outs the World Trade Center bombings, before it happens, and why Alex Jones was reporting on the Liver King, I have no idea.
That's
I just confused also. And he says he has got news that the Liver King is going to be arrested, which he was right, by the way. And they went to his hotel, and he got arrested for terroristic threats on Joe Rogan. Now, first of all, the Liver King is documenting all this, and he has it on his Instagram. If you're gonna go kill someone, right, or you're not gonna tell everyone what you're gonna do, right? And he didn't threaten him that he was gonna kill him. They wanted to fight him, which really meant, John, he wanted to get on the podcast with
right. Well, yeah, he wanted publicity,
which is exactly what it sounds like is happening. Like it almost sounds like maybe there's a lull in the Liver King popularity because of that Netflix documentary. It almost seems like he's trying too hard to get more publicity. And I don't think he thought he was going to be arrested, but I think once they said that they came to arrest him, I think he saw that as an opportunity to get more publicity off of this, especially because he knew he didn't do anything wrong. What are they going to do? What could they possibly arrest him on, based on? For what?
If he was making threatening statements, that's
But you can't say I want to fight someone in an MMA.
Well, I mean, it depends on the context and how he said it and who he said it to.
Well, you saw what he did.
I didn't see it. I didn't see it. I saw a video of him, and it didn't come off.
He just seems like a cuckoo bird. He seemed like
he's out of his mind. It just sounded like he was nuts. The problem is that you got to watch these people who are nuts because they do nutty shit. And you don't expect them to do it, but we have so many mentally ill people wandering around out there because there's no facility and no programs to help them anymore, that we're faced with having to live among them. And this is the shit they do. So are you going to trust them? You're going to say, oh, he was only kidding around because he's Liver King.
You know what, John?
Or do you take the threat seriously?
You know what? Really, when you think about it, isn't the Liver King just a much more successful Mr. G? Look at this guy. Yeah, you see George doing this?
Yeah.
No, him and George.
Good morning, let's go on a walk. Yeah. Look how happy. Yeah. Okay, mate. Oh, yeah. Good tidings. Good tidings. Hey, Primals. Good morning. Good morning, Primals. I just did a great morning with my queen. I'm going on a walk with the boys. I don't know if you heard, it's my get out of jail party today. We can't go to the Beyonce concert, or we could, but what we're choosing to do is obey the laws of Texas and be grateful for being able to party with family today.
I mean, he seems like he's a lot more sober the day after going to jail. I'm convinced that he absolutely was on some sort of drugs.
He's kind of a wacko, man. I mean, look, I look at it this way. The guy scammed his way into your wallet. All right. He
Yes.
did not do any of what he purported to do to gain his physique and his look and whatever. He made all of this shit up to sell his product. And I think if you gotta scam people into following you and believing you, this is the kind of shit that ends up happening. Karma's a bitch.
Can you see George doing this stuff?
At least Georgie would be doing it in the undertone of you know making yourself better and believe in yourself.
Yes,
and,
yes.
You know what I mean?
Well, he was doing that initially until it got to Rogan. He's been
but no, he's doing it to promote himself. Georgie wouldn't want any promotion. He would just want to, he didn't even want to sell that many cookies. But I mean, it's the difference is the Liver King is doing this for himself. Georgie would be doing it to help other people.
Right. Well, I mean, you can. It's okay to make money while you're motivating people.
Yeah, but he's not motivating anyone. He's acting like
I look, I used to watch his videos. I mean, they were very creative.
You're going to watch that, and that's going to make you go to the gym and eat right, and do your cardio.
Now he's lost his mind a little bit. So
a little bit. He's totally gone.
But I think that he was on some sort of drugs, and you know what happens. Success is a very slippery slope, and I'll tell you why. Because when you're that popular, you got 4 million followers. Everyone knew who he was. Everyone's talking about the Liver King. That's a lot of success, and it feeds your ego as much as he's like giving back. You could tell that his videos he put a lot of creative energy into them.
Sure.
And he has a staff of people that were helping him film them, and he was making money selling products. Which is, look, at the end of the day, if you have a supplement line and you're the main driving force of the marketing behind it, and everyone knows who you are, there's a certain level of satisfaction that comes with that, right? I mean, you can't help it but get that. And then all of a sudden, everyone's down on you. They out you for using $11,000 a month in steroids and GH when you said you were natural. Right. And the documentary comes out on Netflix, pointing out that he's a phony. People are suing him, right, for promoting his ancestral tenets as the reason why he looked that good when actually he was taking, juice.
Right.
And now all of a sudden he's not so popular. People don't like him anymore. And he went from being so beloved to being disliked.
Because he scammed everybody. That's why. If he was
he scammed people, but anyone who knows anything about, look, the guy still trained hard.
Yeah, but he's not appealing to the guys who know anything about it. He's appealing to his appeal is to the guys who don't know anything about it, who he can con into believing that if you eat raw liver, you're going to look like me. Right.
Or better yet, take his raw liver pills.
Right. Precisely.
So once he was exposed, he felt like, I guess, like people didn't like him anymore. So he had to start.
And they didn't.
I think that's when people started. No, but what happens, John, is you're not getting high anymore from what you're doing.
Right.
So you start getting high from other things. Let me try experimental hallucinogenic mushrooms. I'm going to microdose them at first. You know how that works, John. People microdose them, and then before they do them, they're macrodosing.
Macrodosing.
And then he's starting to do these kooky videos where he's talking like he's from Mars or something like that,
See, I put him and Sam Sulak in the same category.
I want to hear this explanation.
Because I put him in the same category because up until Sam competed, they were just personalities of their own making. They never accomplished anything in our world to make them noteworthy other than the image that they were promoting. So Sulak is promoting this bizarre idea that you can drink chocolate milk by the gallon and eat shit food and train and get big, despite the fact that
he said he does that. He never promoted it.
I know. It's exactly my point. It was Sam Sulek was on a mission and he shared his journey with everybody. Liver King is promoting a lifestyle and an ideal that's fake. So Sam Sulak's real, Liver King is fake. So they're in the same category because they're influencers who, like I said, up until Sam competed, never participated in our industry whatsoever, but gained a tremendous amount of popularity because of what they were about. And one of them was about something fake, and one of them was about something real. What happened to the fake guy? He's got arrested. His life is over. He's going to be miserable. What happened to the real guy? turned pro. He's got a promising career. He's looking, you know what I mean? You gotta follow the good energy you put out.
Yeah. This is when he was before. It was
Sorry, I didn't see you come out. We were making your coffee. Coffee's ready.
Oh, good. Please, can I have the coffee?
Yeah, it's going to be an espresso.
What?
An espresso.
Do you need any like?
This is when they're taking him. He was stalling. It took him like
If
a
you don't
half hour to
mind,
get
don't
outside.
ask me what I need. I'll say what
Like
I
4
need from
feet
whomever
tall.
I need it to, and I'm going to also do everything that I can with the amount of time I'm trying to explain the least amount that I'm going to. We agreed on 12, correct?
12 minutes, correct.
There's 12 ancestral tenets, you know that?
I do.
Yeah. They're actually principles. And I asked another man how much time I had. He said none, 0.
He was obsessed with the time of how much he was going to be given before he had to come out. He wears 2 watches on his hands, John. He had one. One on one arm, one on the other, like as if they weren't going to be synchronized or something like that. He definitely
Different time zones.
He definitely is losing his mind a little bit. You know,
I think his mind was lost long before
I think
now.
he was dying to get himself onto Rogan. Rogan wanted no part of it, and it would have been a great. I think it would have been a cool interview, but I guess it wouldn't have done anything for Rogan. It would have only helped Liver King, and that's why Rogan didn't do it.
I honestly just don't think Liver King is interesting enough to warrant a Joe Rogan interview.
No, it's not. He's not. I mean, what is he going to say? I screwed over. I lied to people, and his videos are still interesting. I like to watch him walk around his yard and eat berries and shit like that.
I would like the guy if he did this. I would like him if he got on some platform and said, I cooked this whole scheme up, 15 years ago. And I thought if I could get people to believe that I ate like a caveman and lived like a caveman, that I could make a lot of money promoting that idea and the products that support it. And, I took it too far. I did this. I did that. I lied. I scammed. I cheated. I did this. I did it all wrong. And I'm sorry. And I wish I could do it over again. I do it differently. And here's how I would do it differently. Right. So, but and then I would say, well, there's a guy who just, fell on his sword. He realized the jig was up, and it was time to come clean. And if the jig is up and you come clean, the public accepts you back into the fold. If the jig is up and you lie about it and keep denying it and don't do it, nobody likes you.
Yeah. You know what? I guess in the worst case scenario, John, if the Liver King falls any further from grace, he can always join the Whack Pack, right? And join us on Tuesday afternoons, become a Whack Packer. I mean, he'd fit in fine, right?
We'd have him on, sure.
Yeah. He could become a regular. He could go to Alabama with us next year, and hang. Hey, he's got a lot of money. Maybe he could fly us in on his private jet.
Yeah,
maybe.
Like I don't think he's got that much money.
But so at the worst case scenario, Brian, his name is Brian Johnson, you could always contact me and join the Whack Pack. We'd love to have you.
We'd have you
Rogan,
on.
Rogan doesn't want you on, but we'll take you. We'll take you.
Yeah. Yep.
And you know what? Mr. G is looking for a job, I think so. Maybe he can help you.
I think pairing Mr. G up with the Liver King would be absolutely amazing. They could make Neanderthal cookies and liver cookies.
And he's a good businessman, John.
That's what George needs. He needs that. I'm telling you, the dynamic those two would create would be mind-boggling. If the Liver King is listening, we got your soulmate right here.
According to this guy, his net worth is $310 million. I don't know.
Where'd you look that up? I know.
Isn't Valentino worth a couple million though too?
Yeah, Valentino's worth like $4 million. How could he be worth $310 million? Do you realize how much money that is? How much you would have to sell your company for, to be worth that? What supplement company right now is worth $300 million?
He was making a lot, I know, on his website. I don't know what it's lately. It's worth.
I don't know if he's making that much.
It's crazy though. Yeah, think about it. It's a lot of money if he is worth that.
It's a lot of money. I don't know how he could be worth that, but it's a lot of money.
Trying to pull it up on Google. I don't know what the Liver King net worth is. Liver King's net worth is estimated to be approximately $12 million. His wealth is generated from various businesses, blah, blah, blah. However, Liver King claims his wealth to be $310 million.
Yeah,
So,
Liver King claims that. Let's
Liver
see a
King-
tax return.
So
We'll have Ron Norman read it.
Well, Google pulls from everything. So, it sounds a lot more reasonable that he's worth $12 million, which is still a lot of money.
That's a lot of money too.
Yeah. I mean, that's he can live a very, very comfortable life. He doesn't have to work the rest of his life if he doesn't want to.
Yep.
Just don't get yourself arrested,
Yeah, because I'd eat some cash like an animal, man.
Warrior bills.
Oof.
I don't think that this guy is dangerous in the very least. First of all, he came to Austin, Texas, which is where Rogan's located now. Stayed at the Four Seasons Hotel. He didn't stay at some little shanty town. He brought his wife and children with him and his video crew. He's certainly not going to document a terroristic attack on Joe Rogan, okay, on video with his kids and wife there. He's that crazy. This was a huge publicity stunt that went awry because he was too fucking high on whatever he was taking.
Yeah.
And he came off as being nuts rather than just being a guy like, hey, Joe, let's go fight in the MMA. He came off as being a little kooky. And you know what? That's what got people weirded out. And I think from what I understand, the cops asked Rogan if he felt threatened. And he said, yes, that's his town. He probably brings an enormous amount of business into Austin, Texas, John. And they're like, get this fucking guy out. Lock this guy up,
I mean, look,
the Liver King has lawyers.
But I mean, you cannot blame Rogan and you can't blame the cops. There's enough lunatics running around out there that you got to be careful. I mean, you don't know what they're capable of.
They wanted to evaluate him. I think that's why they took him in.
I think he should be evaluated, and I think that somebody should be following him around because kooky people do kooky shit. You just don't know whether it's going to be violent or not.
Do you think that he is dangerous or no?
I think that people who have a mental issue certainly could be dangerous, and I think that needs to be looked at because here's what happens. Let's say everybody's he's just kidding around, he's a Liver King, and then he actually fucks somebody up, he hurts somebody, kills somebody, does something wacko off the cuff, and everybody says, oh, we knew he was crazy. Well, then why didn't you do anything?
Do you think he's like how Colin Van Moger lost his mind and was doing drugs and stuff like that? You think he's in that category? I think he's more mellow than that, but I think the guy has definitely got, my opinion is that if looking at his behavior, it doesn't appear to be normal. So my opinion is that since his behavior does not appear to be normal, it warrants some kind of investigation to make sure the guy's not dangerous. That's all. It's so amazing though. It's always these guys that and I mean, he's not that short. He's 5'7", but it's always these shorter guys that have these complexes where, they have to he should have just been so happy that what I would have done if I were him, I would have never, lied about what I was doing, but because I'm pretty transparent. But if I would have said, you know what? Yeah, it was a publicity stunt. Everything that I sell, I believe in. I take it myself. I believe in it. Is it going to get me looking like me? No, it's not going to probably look good, but I train my ass off. Yes, I'm on hormone replacement. I'm on a few things, but I believe in these. He should have just apologized and left it at that.
Right. Right.
There's no reason to try to justify it. He should have just said, look, there's been plenty of people that have been caught doing stupider shit than him.
And if he did do that, was transparent and owned up to it, then fewer people would think he's nuts.
Right.
I mean, right now, all of us think he's fucking nuts. That's what we think based on his behavior. But you want to change our opinion, change your behavior.
He doesn't feel good about himself inside because of what's going on. And he's taking substances. Look, we've all tried it and done it before, most of us, except Greg Valentino, of course. He just gets his gallbladder removed. But I bet the Liver King could have helped him probably keep his gallbladder.
Yeah.
And I think the Liver King's calling us. Hold on.
No way.
No, it's not the Liver King. And he went on that slippery slope of let me do a little bit of these drugs to make myself feel a little better, and he did too much, and that's what happened. And when you do too much, you start you slowly but surely go past the line of sane versus non-sane. He sounded insane in what he was saying. That's why the cops arrested him. If he would have sounded coherent and been speaking, very coherently about what's going on, I don't think anyone would have arrested this guy. And I don't think that Rogan would have felt threatened by him either. But he's like probably thinking, if this guy's on drugs, he might do something that normally he would not be capable of doing.
And then he makes this. Then they make statements like he's was what $11,000 a month on juice. Who spends 1,100 maybe?
No,
11 grand.
You know what it was, John? I think they were trying. He was claiming that he was buying growth hormone from a legitimate compounding farm.
How much is that? $1,500? I mean,
it's not 11,000, but I mean,
No.
It's probably like a couple grand maybe. But everyone has to bolster everything up.
But my point is if you say I'm taking $11,000 a month worth of drugs, immediately say that guy's fucking nuts.
Right.
You are not helping yourself, by making such claims. Why don't you say 1,100? That's like believable. That's what the most of us would be hard pressed to spend on a cycle. Even if you're buying growth directly from Lilly, it doesn't fucking matter. When you say shit like that, it immediately makes you sound nuts. And on top of everything else that he's done and said, what's anybody going to think that he goes to Austin and tries to pick a fight with Joe Rogan? Of course, if I was Rogan, I'd say, put a fucking net over this fucking guy.
According to this, he actually confessed to taking $11,000 a month in steroids.
Yeah.
Who the hell someone was making a shitload of money on selling these drugs to him, if that's what
you and I have done enough drugs to know how much $11,000, even if you bought it from directly from the pharmacy, from the most expensive marked up pharmacy in Beverly Hills, you wouldn't spend 11 grand a month on juice. It's impossible. But makes you sound like you're fucking nuts, right? Because anybody who looks at that amount of money spent on drugs would say that's insane. That's an incredible amount. Nobody could. If you took that much drugs, you'd be out of your fucking mind. So, what do you expect when people say you're out of your mind?
Yeah, maybe he was out of his mind. Maybe he didn't even know it. He was buying from.
And then if you say he's out of his mind without saying I think he's out of his mind or my opinion is he's out of his mind, if you say he's out of his mind, then you get sued for making a false statement or slander or libel or whatever it is. You're going to be in trouble for saying something like that when it's painfully obvious.
I have a good idea, John. We were trying to figure out who Mr. G could fight in an MMA ring. The Liver King.
There you go.
Why don't we do the Liver King? I'm sure the Liver King needs to rehab his reputation,
his image. Listen, Liver King, if you're out there listening, contact us. We have 7 different things you can do to resurrect your career. We'll help you. All right. But you got to make the first step. It's like being it's like admitting you're a drug addict. You got to make the first step. You got to admit you need us. So then contact Dave and we'll work it out.
I think that because remember we couldn't find someone who I don't think the Liver King.
He disappeared again. Okay, folks. So we're here talking about Liver King and Dave disappeared. So what can we tell you? The opinion is that the $11,000 worth of drugs is way too much.
Listen, Mr. G can't find someone who's never had an MMA fight. Now, Brian's a little younger than Mr. G, but, they kind of look alike a little bit, right? And Mr. G is a lot bigger than him, taller and weighs more than him. I think they would be evenly matched. I think it would be a good
I think it's a fabulous idea. I think we could Georgie should make a commemorative Liver King cookie, to go along with it. Right. And, get Liver King involved in the promotion of this thing because he's way better at business than Georgie.
Yeah. He might actually make George some money.
He could actually make Georgie a lot of money if Georgie would,
Well, we have to discuss this tomorrow on After Hours.
Yeah. Yes, we do.
We have to have George drive to wherever the Liver King lives. I don't even know where he lives anymore. And he could spend like a month there, like rehabbing, giving him motivational speeches and getting him back into the flow.
Right. Get him to believe in himself.
That's right. Holy shit.
You don't need all those drugs. You got to believe in yourself.
Yeah. And then he could stop at Ronnie Coleman's house and help him he could do his physical therapy with Ronnie Coleman after that. Yeah.
I'm surprised we haven't heard any more news since this morning.
No, then we're probably tomorrow we'll hear something.
We're on a media blackout.
Where does Liver King live? Hold on.
It just bothers me.
Oh, the Liver King. Oh, no, he was arrested. Oh, he moved to Texas. I didn't know that.
Oh, he was moved. I thought he was in Kentucky or something.
I think he's in Houston now.
Wow.
So that's perfect. George can go to the Liver King, and then he can go to Ronnie after that.
Yep.
We got a lot of and George is George. The only problem is the Liver King better know George is not cheap. Right? Doesn't he charge like $1,000 a training session?
Well, I think he has different levels of participation. Some of it involves
depends on how much money you make. Yeah.
Well, and it depends if you're offering him a place to live. Does it have a swimming pool? How far you are from the beach so he can surf? Is there a gym nearby? Is there a gym in the house?
There's no surf in Texas, unfortunately, unless the Liver King builds him a wave pool or something.
It's a lot of gray areas.
Yeah. It's pretty funny. Right.
But I think that would be phenomenal.
Yeah. And certainly be good for their image.
Yep.
Anyway, all right. Let's see.
So what about Larry Wheels? I mean, not Larry Wheels, the neck guy.
NECKZILLA. Let's bring. So NECKZILLA wins the Flex Italy Pro Show. And he's going to the Mr. Olympia. It's interesting. Let me pull up some footage.
I didn't think his condition was very good at all.
I thought he looked good. I thought I like the way he looked.
He looked like he was guest posing.
No, he's leaner than that.
I didn't think so. But he does have that very thick skin, though. He's a monster.
He's the problem with NECKZILLA is that. First of all, I want to just give him some compliments because he absolutely got bigger than last year. He absolutely improved his posing. He, however, has a very weird looking physique. He's got a slightly big waist, he's
got big obliques.
And he's got a very narrow shoulder width for
and his arms are short.
And his legs are insane.
His arms are pretty short, don't you think?
It's like someone took a bunch of body parts and just put them together. Like if you could make an AI, bodybuilder, and you were into legs. Like if there was a wellness division in bodybuilding, he would be the champ.
Man, his arms look really short in that pose.
Yeah, he's got strange proportion, is what he's got.
Yeah, very.
And that's why because he's got more muscle than everyone.
Look, he is what we want, a freak.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
what we want. We do. If you want to be beautiful, compete in classic physique.
Yeah, exactly. You're right.
I mean, come on. That's why we invented it. We invented it to give the guys who keep complaining about the 90s someplace to go. Now leave us alone. Let the freaks walk the earth.
Right. Well, I'm glad he's going to the Olympia because he is a freak, and he's. I want to see an Olympia that's got a lineup like with everybody's over 270. He does look like Paco Batista, by the way. Whoever
kind of, yeah. With those, his obliques are very, very big. Reminds me of Jimmy Quinn.
Yeah. Here's the problem with him. He's never going to win like the big shows because he's got a very awkward physique. But a lot of people, he didn't get straight first place votes. Andrea Presti got a few first place votes. Now, Andrea Presti, who I really like his physique, he's from Italy, so that probably helped him. I'm sure.
Helped. Yeah,
is in Italy, but I don't think it was. To me, it wasn't close. I mean, Rubiel is just so much bigger than him. Even though Andrea has a nicer looking physique, aesthetically speaking. I mean, there's a muscle aspect of what's going on here too.
Absolutely.
You can't ignore that. Let's pull up the call outs here for a second, and then we can critique it a little better. All right, this is the first call out. You got Rubiel next to him. To the left of him is Andrea Presti. as far as I'm concerned, it was a 2-man show. So, and obviously, so did the score sheets, and the judges felt that way too. But I mean, look at the size difference. I mean, he's kind of like a Victor Richards with not as good a shape as Victor Richards, right?
And you know, and he's not that tall either. He's like he's probably the second shortest guy in the lineup there. But his mass just completely dominates everything. Look at that.
You want to look at him. It's like
you
can't stop looking at him. Yeah,
he definitely draws the attention.
I mean, let's face it. The show was weak. That's why he won. Okay, it was, as far as I'm concerned, it wasn't even close. And like I said, I like Andrea Presti's physique, but Rubiel's got the legs. I mean, Andrea's legs are a little downsized. I'm sure he's mad that Rubiel showed up because I mean, obviously he'd be going to the Olympia otherwise.
Right.
And he might actually be qualified already, Presti. I have to look it up.
I don't recognize the name on the list.
Yeah. I mean, how do you not pick Rubiel in this lineup?
Difficult.
It is difficult because mass does really help, and I don't care what anyone says,
Yeah, bigger's better.
No, yeah, Presti's not. I thought he was qualified. He's not qualified. So
I didn't think so.
The Mr. Olympia qualified is Brett Wilkins, Samson Dowda, Hadi Chopin, Derek Lunsford, Rafael Brandeo, Martin Fitzwater, Akeem Williams, Brandon Curry, William Bonac, Vitaly Ugolanov, Andrew Jacked, Nick Walker, Regan Grimes, Antonio Burton, Sassarati, Beirut Tabani, and Chenglong Chen, China. And now we could add NECKZILLA to the list.
Now, you guys, make sure you understand what we just said. These are the guys qualified for the Olympia. This does not mean they are competing. It means they are qualified.
They got to sign the contracts.
Yeah, I mean, the Beirut.
Amin is right. His quads are just nuts. I mean, they're crazy.
Yeah, they're crazy. I don't think we're going to see any of the Iranian bodybuilders this year.
I was going to ask you that next. I was going to say,
I don't think we're going to see Hadi, and I don't think we're going to see what's his name. You just said it.
I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see Hadi. I don't think we're going to see Beirut though.
Beirut.
I think Hadi is kind of. Well, I think Hadi's kind of like grandfathered in almost. He's been here so many times already.
I don't know. They're pretty radical over there. I hope they let him. I mean, I hope Beirut should come too. I mean, if they let one, they should let the other.
Yeah. But there's sometimes like a precedent. Like one has been here many times. He's already, shown that he's not. I think all athletes should have exemptions, but I guess
exactly there should be none of this political shit attached to athleticism.
Right.
None. I mean, zero.
I mean, what's the odds of there being a troublemaker, as an athlete,
And if they are, it's contained. We know we know exactly where you are. I mean, come on. What are you gonna do?
According to Amin, Iran's airport is shut down.
Yeah, so it is. It's the airport. People can't get out of there.
Well, we also have a couple months till the Olympia, so I don't know.
I would like to see all of those guys.
There's a black guy and Italian guy competing. Dave always roots for the black guy. Typically, what? I'm Italian. Why am I going to root for the black guy? I don't watch Rocky and root for Clubber Lang to win.
What an idiotic statement. Yeah, unless he was joking.
Yeah, he probably is. That's why I put it up there. Yeah, it's pretty funny. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
So I think if that Beirut guy gets here, it's all over. That guy's so insanely huge. You don't think so?
I mean, I think he's going to do well. I don't think he's going to win the Olympiad. You
don't think he could? With that, he's a monster.
I don't know, John.
You don't think so?
I don't know. I don't think so.
But, all right. You know better than I do.
I mean, you think he's going to beat Samson and Hadi?
I think the pictures I've seen of this guy.
He's good, but
he's insane.
Yeah, if I'll tell you what, if I was an Iranian athlete, I would just get the hell out of there and go to Dubai or something like that.
You can try to, but you can't get out.
Establish some, asylum there or something like that, and then they can get a passport maybe from there.
Yeah.
So, I agree. I mean, I think he's going to be in the top 4, top 5. Yeah.
Well, I mean, what a stupid thing to have to deal with if you're an athlete. I mean, it's just crazy.
I think Presti was a little upset, but you know what? Rubiel's Rubiel. He's a freak.
Total freak.
Now, here's the question. If you're Rubiel, John, do you get bigger or do you try to get more aesthetic? Because you know he's not getting more aesthetic. But
I believe you should always get bigger.
I
Look, it's the way things are structured right now. The whole idea that open bodybuilding has to be this artistic representation of the human form with flow and beauty but fuck that. That's why we have men's physique. We have or classic physique, whatever. Open bodybuilding is a freak show. That's what it's supposed to be. So get bigger. Yes. Get bigger, get leaner, get bigger, bigger, and leaner. That's what you got to do. Because I want to see freaks. That's what I like to see. That's what most people who are watching the open want to see. And all those people who are whining and complaining about how it's out of hand and it doesn't do this anymore and it doesn't do that anymore and the 90s were the best era, go watch classic physique. That's why we gave it to you.
Yeah. Let me pull this up here. Hold on. Was this a better Olympia lineup, you think? Dennis Wolf, Dexter Jackson, Kai Green, Victor Martinez.
Yeah, man. That's a great lineup right there. Kai just dominates. Sorry. That's his physique is retarded.
Dennis Wolf was really great too there. But
that was one of the couple times he came in really good.
Yeah.
Victor is unbelievable also.
I think in this lineup, I think the guys today more than can hang with these guys.
Absolutely.
I think when we talk about the Ronnie Coleman era and the Dorian era, that was a little more difficult.
That was different.
But you know, the guys were good, but they weren't like mind-boggling. I don't think people don't realize how crazy Ronnie Coleman is. I'm gonna give you an idea, because when we saw Dorian competing, okay, you got to remember Dorian beat Kevin Levrone, Dorian beat Flex Wheeler, Nasser El Somebody, Sean Ray. You know, that whole group.
Lee Priest,
Cormier. They couldn't beat this guy.
Paul Dillette.
And you would think on paper that these other guys should absolutely take out Dorian because genetically they were better.
Absolutely.
But Dorian was bigger, harder, more professional, dry. You couldn't outwork the guy. So
no.
when Dorian retired, we're all like, well, who's going to win now? It's going to be Levrone. It's going to be Flex Wheeler. We were all thinking, who's the next in line? No one saw Ronnie Coleman coming. No one ever expected that Ronnie would be so good that he would be better than Dorian, because no one thought it would be possible.
Because he placed like 16th his first Olympia, didn't he?
So when Ronnie comes out of the woodwork and wins in 98, you know, he looked amazing. And then he comes back in 99 and beats Flex again and looks even better, people would argue. I agree. And then, you know, he had that off year in 01 where Jay theoretically could have beat him. In 02, he tried to come in too hard and he was smaller and he didn't look as good. And then everyone was writing him off. And then he came back in 03 and was like 300 pounds.
45 pounds heavier. 47 pounds heavier.
It was like this guy. We said this guy, no one will ever. There'll never be another Ronnie Coleman. Now, I'm not saying there'll never be another Ronnie Coleman, but there might never be another Ronnie Coleman.
No, there will
because
never
he
be
had
another
genetics. He think about it. He was natural for a very long time. So his body grew naturally, and then he took drugs on top of one of the most genetically blessed bodies already. I mean, the guy had 20-inch arms, I think, in high school.
Right.
And it took me 5 years to get 20-inch arms. He had him playing football in high school. Right. He wasn't even working out. So that tells you his genetics. And then he had a blessed structure on top of that. So it's like it's the perfect storm. So that's why he's the greatest of all time. Now, no matter what happens to him afterwards, whether orthopedically, and that doesn't even matter, because what he achieved may never ever be eclipsed. And because of that, we're forever always going to compare everyone to him.
Right.
And
But
compared to him, no one will ever live up to our expectations of what Mr. Olympia should be. And that's what has ruined bodybuilding,
Well,
right?
but
it's not the fact that the physiques are not, it's not the fact that the physiques are not good now. They're really good. I mean, the top guys are great, but they're not Ronnie Coleman.
No.
And because of that, it's like we're waiting for the next savior to come for bodybuilding and the next Ronnie to appear. And I don't know if it'll ever happen.
Every sport has had their incredible standout. You know, you've got, you know, Michael Jordan, you've got
but they got
Lewis
LeBron
Hamilton in Formula One. You've got guys who are just so far in the fringe above and beyond everybody else that you just don't get that very often. You know, you're lucky if you get to see it once or twice in your lifetime.
Yates would destroy the guys today. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. No two ways about it.
It wouldn't even be close.
Not even.
It would be like laughable. They would be like one call out and they'd send him back in line and that would be the end of the show.
He could go back to his hotel room.
Yeah.
Come back later and get the trophy.
But that's what we're waiting for, another Yates or another Coleman. And when that happens, everyone will love bodybuilding. I mean, we still love bodybuilding, but I'm saying then it will become so popular again because we just don't have that person there. We had, think about it, we had 6 years of Dorian, we had 8 years of Ronnie, we had 7 years of Phil Heath, and we had 4 years of Jay. So, you know, with a couple, you know, Dexters and Rodens, you know, and Ramy scattered in there, but they weren't dominant years. So we've had a change in the Olympia title, John, the last, 3-4 years in a row?
Yeah.
There's no consistency. So there is no one there. So, you know, we're waiting for the return of the king, so to speak, you know?
I don't think it will happen the way it used to happen. I even asked Weinberger this in an interview recently when I think it was on this show that we asked him.
Yeah, don't forget Haney, although we're not allowed to talk about
don't
Haney.
forget Haney. Yeah, but that was the era.
Haney bailed on the organization.
But that was the era prior. It changed when Dorian won the Olympia. Everything changed.
Right. Yeah.
So that was
Haney was not as dominant as
No, he was not. Not like Dorian. No, he wasn't. He was amazing. He was incredible, but he was not the dominant force that Ronnie was, that Jay was, that, you know, that these other guys were.
I got news for you guys. You think Yates got a gift? He did not get a gift. This guy, maybe the last Olympia, I think that you could have justified.
Olympia, he got a gift.
Yeah,
yes.
You could have justified Nassau winning because Yates had injuries, but the other five, he won. I mean, he beat the best of the best.
Totally. And he also had one of those years where he came back one year to the next, was like, whoa, what happened?
92 to 93. 93 was
exactly.
Best ever.
So that's what you get. But you know, I think that genetic makeup to produce one of those dudes is so rare and so elusive in the sense that if you know you got it, you got to exploit it, kind of thing, you know.
Well, will there ever be another Bumstead? I mean, I equate Bumstead to Corey Everson in women's bodybuilding.
Yeah.
I think that there will be a better winner, but for his year when he was competing in the Classic Olympia, no one can touch him. He was untouchable.
His reign was spotless. He was incredible.
But his physique can be eclipsed by another Classic guy in the future, and it will. But when he was competing, no one touched him. You know?
Nope.
He structurally was better than everyone.
He was incredible.
That's why Corey won too. She was structurally better. How tall was Corey? She was tall, right?
She was taller, yeah.
Yeah. She just to stand out over everyone, you know.
5'8", 5'9", something like that.
You know, and Linda was very dominant too because of that structure. I mean, so that's why she was. I mean, although Iris Kyle beat her a few times, so you know, you got to take your hat off to Iris. But you know, if
Kim
people were more interested,
too.
If people were more interested in women's bodybuilding, they had some of the best battles probably during that time period.
And they were always conditioned. I mean, quality-wise, the women always smoked the men.
Kim, Linda, and Iris would have smoked all the women today.
All of them.
I mean, all three of those girls. No one would have touched. They could have won 25 Olympias. You know?
Easily.
So today, but once again, we haven't gotten another person. And in women's bodybuilding, I think you could find another person, especially because Jake puts out enough money now that it will draw in some people. I think if some of these women's physique women would be smart and just move up to women's bodybuilding, they're close already. They probably, you know how like the 212 guys moved up to the open and they realized, fuck, we could win the open. And there's a lot more money in this. And that's what Hottie did and Derek did. And I think the women's physique competitors should do the same thing because there's a lot more money in women's bodybuilding. The way Jake's doing it at the Olympia level, you know.
The women's divisions, unfortunately, go through this metamorphosis that is constantly replacing the prior division with the one more extreme.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look at the bikini girls now. The bikini girls look like the figure girls used to look 5 years ago.
Yeah. And the figure girls look like the women's physique women.
There was a figure girl working out in my gym. She went into the other room where they have cardio to film herself, right? And I was in there doing leg extensions because they moved the machine in there for some stupid reason. So I'm looking, I'm looking at this girl. She was training. But that girl's probably, you know, she's a little small for bodybuilding, but she's probably, you know, classic, you know, women's physique.
Yeah.
Then I see the clear heels, and I'm like, are you kidding? This is figure. And the girl, if you think of figure that where like maybe Nicole Wilkins was that cusp where the things changed, you know, from being a little to being not so extreme to extreme. This is another 3 steps more extreme. Women's figure right now might as well be women's bodybuilding.
Well, look at the women's physique Olympia champ, Sarah Villegas, who I think is one of the most gifted. I think she's got like a Corey Everson look, even though she may not look like Corey, but her physique is Corey-ish. I think she should do bodybuilding. I mean, look at that. I mean, that's a lot of muscle there. That's a lot of lean muscle. That's a good look for women's bodybuilding, I think.
They need to get rid of women's bodybuilding and just do this, or merge the two, whatever you want.
Merge them. This way, people always complain there's not enough money. You don't need 2 divisions. Have 1 division.
That's all you need. They're so close. You can hardly discern the difference between the two anyway.
They're a little bigger than women's bodybuilding, but
so what? We need another division like that to siphon more money out of the pile.
The talent pool in physique is better.
Yes.
So you don't have to encourage the women to get that much bigger because you know what? As far as I'm concerned, that's big enough.
There's only like 4 girls in the whole Olympia that are like champion caliber.
I mean, have you seen, you know, Natalia Coelho? I mean, she's also amazing. I mean, she doesn't need to be any bigger. No. And I think that to me, that's the perfect also physique for women's bodybuilding. I don't know. I think that we're
you ever see Teresa Ivancek?
Ivankic,
Ivankic.
She's got a good physique too, but I'm saying, but she actually does women's bodybuilding.
No, she does women's open bodybuilding, but that physique, you know,
well, yeah, but there's people that are more gifted than her. But I know what you're referring to.
Yeah,
I know what you're referring to. So it's I don't know. Look, I don't make the rules, but we can still
just break them.
You know, Lee Priest thinks there shouldn't be 212 bodybuilding. He thinks that these guys should all go to the open division.
I agree.
It's a little harder because of that. I mean, for the shorter guys, I mean, yes, there are some that are very gifted. And I think, but if we had another era of like a Ronnie or another era of like a Jay, these shorter guys wouldn't have a prayer. So I think they're doing well now because there really isn't a dominant guy. Look at Samson. If Samson continues to dominate and come in shape, no one's going to beat him.
No.
How do you get a guy who was 5'6" to beat this guy 6'2"?
You know, but see, that's the thing. It's like that's just the way the cookie crumbles, Georgie. I mean, you know, I mean, it's just the way it is. I mean, you can't. It's like why can't I ride a motorcycle as good as Casey Stoner? You know, I'm never. It's never going to happen. So that's just tough luck. And if you're 5'2" and you want to compete in the Olympia, that's tough. You shouldn't have a class all for you so you can do what? Be the 212 Mr. Olympia?
I mean, this guy makes look. Keon Pearson is right. He's probably a top 5 Olympia guy already. Now he is very short. But he's got a beautiful physique.
Yeah, he does. And that's what should win the show, not, you know.
I would like him. Right now he's doing 212 Olympia because he's winning easily. But I would like to see him in the open.
I agree with Lee. There should be no delineation.
You know what? If they would allow this guy to do the open in addition to the 212, he would do it. I don't know why they don't, just to get him in the show.
It would sell tickets.
Look at that. I mean, that's like a perfect physique. You know what I mean?
It is
pretty amazing.
And okay, so he's not that big of a dude, but it really doesn't matter at the end of the day.
He looks like Flex Wheeler from behind. I mean,
yeah,
look at that. He's better.
Probably.
He's got glutes.
Yeah.
Blackman would love those glutes.
Oh my God.
That's
like flawless right there.
I mean, that's a great back.
Except that he doesn't turn his head in that shot. That would make the whole.
Well, you could. Oh, he almost did it.
Almost. He almost did.
They might have cut. That.
Pat Romano's watching. Cut that.
Hey, look at this. This is off season. I mean, he's huge.
It's insane, and he's got a great structure.
And look at that small waist. I mean, that's bodybuilding right there. That's
absolutely
freaky.
Totally.
I don't know. But it is what it is. Like, if I were him, if I had his genetics, granted, all right, he's short. There's no doubt. We know that.
Right.
He knows that. And once again, Keon was sending me pictures, John, when he was 100% natural, and he wanted my opinion on it. And I'm like thinking, this guy is unbelievable. I said, and I believed that he was all natural because he looked it, but I'm like, if this guy ever put on like 20 pounds of muscle, I said, no one's going to beat this guy. I'm thinking in my head. And I told him the same thing. I said, if you continue to grow, that physique is unbelievable. And obviously he's not natural anymore, but he's almost unbeatable, that guy. I mean, if you think about it, he's flawless. I mean, the only thing that can be, that he can be beaten on is his height. I mean, that's it. I'd love to see how that thing does on an Olympia stage. I
think I agree with, like I said, I agree with Lee. And I talk like him, but it's just the way it should be. I
know what I was going to say, but if I was him, I would my ego would make me want to go onto the Olympia stage and test it. I want to show these guys I got the best goods up there. You know what I mean? I might not be the biggest guy, I might not be the tallest guy, but I'm put together. Bodybuilding is about how it all flows. There
were great short bodybuilders all throughout our history. There just were, and you could, Lee Priest was Muhammad Makawi, Danny Padilla. I mean, these guys were, short dudes, but they were amazing, and they held their own against the big guys.
Is Keon only an inch shorter than Derek? I think he's a lot shorter than that. Don't you think?
Lunsford? No, he's shorter than that.
No, I'm saying Keon is definitely shorter.
Yeah, he looks like a little kid when he's got the sweatsuit on.
Yeah, no, he's not that tall.
No, he's alone. Looks huge, but
I think Keon's more like 5'1". I agree with that. Maybe 5'2". Yeah, I don't think
5'1" or 5. He's
not 6'6".
He's very little.
What was Sean Ray always saying? He was always trying to pretend he was like 5'7" or something like that, 5'8".
With the lifts in his heels.
Yeah. Look, it doesn't matter how tall you are. It's how tall you appear. It's how you flow. So I don't. Bodybuilding is the only sport that it doesn't even matter how tall you are. Although, usually, as Lee Haney would say, a good big man always beats a good little man.
That's right. That's right.
And big man shouldn't go to the ground, right? Isn't that what Lee Haney Wait, talking about people who are losing their mind, why do you think Lee Haney started his own organization?
Oh, that's a head scratcher right there.
Here's a guy who went up through the NPC Nationals. He was the first NPC National champ. Great relationship with Jim Mannion. Became the Mr. Olympia, and was 8-time Olympia champ. I mean, ambassador for the sport. Wasn't he on the Presidential's Council?
And I think he's done a tremendous amount for his community in terms of helping the young kids.
Yeah, he's so motivational.
Yep.
What the heck possibly could have happened that he decided not to promote NPC shows anymore?
I honestly believe that like there's a Trump derangement syndrome. I believe there is a bodybuilding derangement syndrome where there's a group of people who are so obsessed with the direction the bodybuilding is going, and that how it's not like it used to be, and how the 90s were the best, and
nothing's ever the way it used to be.
I know, but what I'm saying is there's a vocal component of people. They're all over my Facebook feed who are constantly trashing open bodybuilding because it's an aberration of what it's supposed to be, and these people are like deranged over it. you know.
You're
And
right.
so, you know, I don't know if that's Lee's problem or what, or if it is a problem, or if it was his motivating factor to start this, but it's just kind of nuts to do that.
Well, what happened was Lee Haney was criticizing the direction of the sport, which is ridiculous because the sport has grown since, you know, he was in it. And I think that was nuts right off the bat, a little kooky, right? And then he got a lot of backlash from people on social media, which you would normally think Lee Haney wouldn't even care about that, but maybe it bothered him. I don't know. And so he, rather than just ignore it like we do when we get backlash, he took it personally, and he went out and voiced his opinion very strongly about how even worse, and made it even worse for himself. It looked like he was almost like not appreciative of where he came from. And then he felt like the only out was for him to start his own thing. Like it was like almost like you have a kid who's like spoiled kid who doesn't want to listen to his parents, and he's like he'll burn the house down, in other words, rather than just say, you know what, maybe I was a little too extreme and let me back off of this a little bit. So it doesn't make either that or the Liver King gave him the same fucking drugs that he was taking. But there's only two possibilities. You know?
Yeah, just two.
Maybe the Liver King will sponsor Lee Haney's new organization.
Yeah, he's got $315 million,
or he claims to, at least.
Yeah, put it where your mouth is.
Yeah. Oh my God!
You know, that's what cracks me up. These guys that claim all this wealth and all this money. You know what $1 million would do for our sport if we just put it in the right places and did the right thing with it. And you got these guys saying, "Oh, you know, I make 20 million a year," or whatever their shit is. Yeah, if that's the case, pony up. You know, hook your brothers up.
Right. Well, I hear Arnold's
nobody
does
does
$1 now, so he ponied up, right? He's putting $750 up for prize money for next year.
Yep.
I commend him. But you know what? Because a lot of these older guys, when they get older, they get frugal. Like Ben Weider, you know, Ben was great for the sport. I mean, there's no doubt that Ben Weider, you know, changed the scope of bodybuilding, you know, and expanded into all these countries. But, you know, he wasn't exactly like, you know, he was a little frugal with his money, put it that way. We know that. That's just Ben Weider. You know,
one of my favorite funny stories, I got to interrupt you here, is that because it exemplifies Ben's frugalness. Now, remember, he died with $1 billion in the bank, allegedly. All right, billion would it be? And he said in an interview, one of the luxuries I allowed myself was a boat. And you see him in the next frame, and he's got the blazer on with the captain stripe and the captain hat. You know, he's got the little uniform.
Did he have the Napoleon hat on? Or did he have a different hat?
No. The boat captain's hat. You know,
well, the Napoleon was a captain. Like he had the captain's hat, too,
like on Gilligan's Island. The captain.
I know,
you know.
I'm kidding.
And then you see the boat, and you immediately think of Gilligan's Island.
Oh, it was like a small boat?
It was like 12 feet long. Tiny little putt-putt boat, you know, and he's standing on the dock with the blazer and the hat.
He probably was just posing in it. It probably wasn't even his boat. That's why, you know.
But no, it was like the only luxury I allowed myself.
Why do you think that
boat cost $3,500?
You know that all those trips he took to Europe were paid for by the IFBB. There was no way that he took a penny out of his pocket. So
no, but the boat story was absolutely.
You know what it is, John?
hysterical.
People from that era, like my father's era, your father's era, they had the poverty mentality because they grew up poor. Right. The Weeders, I'm sure, were poor growing up.
Well, of course.
Even though they made a lot of money, they couldn't get out of that. They couldn't allow themselves to spend it because it didn't seem right to them because of where they came from that Depression era.
Yeah, but they blew money on stuff like, you know, Ben bought Napoleon's baptismal gown.
But that's an investment. That's an investment, John.
Joe Weider had all those boteros, you know, sculptures and artwork, and
but they thought that was an investment that they could sell, you know. So it was like money in the bank.
It was an asset. Yeah,
it was an asset.
A collectible.
Blackman had glute statues, didn't he?
Yo,
I don't know if he could resell those things. I don't know who he could sell them to. John, thanks for joining me today on the show. Chris Aceto is vacationing with his family in Miami, and it was great to do Heavy Muscle Radio with you. And for those of you who want to hear more about the Liver King and Mr. G, Tomorrow on After Hours, we will be live at 12:15 Eastern Standard, as we always are. For now, though, we are out of time, as we say every week, with Heavy Muscle Radio.
The truth hurts.
See you next week.